When Distance Died. Chapter 1. The Breakthrough. The soft hum of quantum processors filled the lab as Dr. Aurora Chen manipulated data streams on a holographic display. Hours had melted away, leaving her alone with whirring machines and mounting expectations. Another dead end, she muttered, rubbing her tired eyes. Equations scrolled past, stubbornly withholding answers. As Aurora moved to shut down the system, a sudden spark arced between two processors. The lab plunged into darkness, then emergency lights bathed the room in an eerie red glow. Power surged back, but something was different. The quantum field stabilizer displayed impossible readings. "This can't be right," Aurora whispered, her fingers flying over the controls. The stabilizer showed macroscale entanglement, a phenomenon thought purely theoretical. "Computer, run diagnostics on all systems," she commanded, voice trembling. "All systems functioning within normal parameters," the AI responded coolly. Aurora's mind raced. If the readings were accurate. "Computer, prepare for experiment replication, full sensor array, maximum resolution." Hours blurred as Aurora worked feverishly, each replication confirming the unbelievable. She had stumbled upon the key to macroscale quantum entanglement. As dawn broke, Aurora sat back, realization dawning. This wasn't just a breakthrough in quantum physics. It was the dawn of teleportation. Exhilaration warred with trepidation. Instant transportation across any distance. The end of physical borders. A revolution in humanity's relationship with space and time. But questions swirled. Who would control this technology? How would it be implemented? What unforeseen consequences might it bring? Aurora's hand hovered over her comm unit. One call and everything would change. She took a deep breath and connected the call. "Dr. Yamamoto, it's Aurora. We need to talk. I've made a discovery." As she spoke, Aurora knew she was stepping into uncharted territory. The era of teleportation had begun, and for better or worse, she was at its helm. Outside, the city woke, oblivious to the revolution within its midst. Soon, very soon, everything would change. Aurora ended the call, her mind racing with next steps. Notifications flooded in, news alerts, messages from colleagues, government inquiries. Word was spreading fast. She squared her shoulders, preparing to face the incoming storm of attention and scrutiny. The future was here, and she had to be ready. As Aurora braced herself, a small part of her couldn't help but wonder, had she just opened Pandora's box? Little did Aurora know that her breakthrough would set in motion a chain of events that would unfold over the next decade. The journey from her lab to widespread teleportation technology would be fraught with challenges, ethical debates, and unforeseen consequences. As she stood on the precipice of this new era, Aurora could never have imagined the profound impact her discovery would have on the world. It would take years of rigorous testing, refinement, and global collaboration before teleportation became a reality for the masses. By the time Agent Kieran Novak would be investigating suspicious teleportation activities, nearly a decade would have passed since that fateful night in Aurora's lab. The world would have changed dramatically, adapting to and grappling with the implications of instantaneous travel. Aurora took a deep breath, steeling herself for the long road ahead. The dawn of teleportation had arrived, but its full impact on humanity was yet to be seen. Chapter 2. The Watchful Eye agent Kieran Novak's wrist communicator buzzed, jolting him from sleep. "Novak," he answered, voice gravelly. "Sir, anomalous teleportation patterns detected. High priority." Kieran was already moving. Details. Multiple jumps across restricted zones. Paris, New York, Tokyo. No clear pattern, but frequency suggests coordination. "On my way," Kieran said, ending the call. Minutes later, he emerged from a teleportation pod in the Global Teleportation Regulatory Agency's Geneva headquarters. The operations center hummed with activity, holographic displays flickering with data. "Show me," he ordered, approaching the main console. A 3D world map appeared, dotted with pulsing red markers. Each represented an unauthorized teleportation. Kieran studied the data, eyes narrowing. "Run it through the predictive algorithm." The computer churned through terabytes of data. A pattern emerged. "There," Kieran pointed. "These 7 locations, they're test runs." The implications chilled him. Someone was probing for weaknesses. This wasn't mere crime. It was a coordinated attack. Lock onto those quantum signatures, Kieran ordered. Real-time tracking on any further jumps. As the team complied, Kieran retreated to his office, thoughts racing. The teleportation age had created new vulnerabilities. His job was to prevent harm, but at what cost? He ran his thumb along his badge, the weight of responsibility pressing down. To track these threats, they monitored every teleportation jump worldwide. A level of surveillance once unthinkable. Kieran had justified it as necessary for safety, but doubts gnawed at him. Where was the line between security and tyranny? His console chimed. Sir, movement detected. Signatures converging on London. Philosophical debates would wait. Lives were at stake. Lock down all teleportation in Greater London, he commanded. Coordinate with local authorities. Strike teams ready. Hours blurred. Kieran directed the operation with practiced efficiency. They tracked suspects, predicted moves, closed the net. It ended in a tense warehouse standoff. Kieran materialized with the strike team. Global Teleportation Regulatory Agency, you're surrounded. Chaos erupted. When dust settled, the threat was neutralized. A planned attack on London's financial district, thwarted. Later, a young agent approached Kieran. Sir, that was incredible. How did you piece it together so quickly? Kieran managed a tight smile. Just doing my job. But as he walked away, his badge felt heavier. They'd prevented catastrophe, but at what cost to privacy? To freedom? He thought of the vast surveillance network that made this victory possible. Every teleportation tracked and analysed, a system he'd helped build, championed as necessary. Now, Kieran wondered, had they gone too far? Stepping into a teleportation pod, he hesitated. The system recorded his destination, his quantum signature, adding to the database of human movement. He input his destination, trying to shake off unease. They were keeping people safe. That had to count for something, didn't it? The pod hummed. Kieran vanished in a flash of light, leaving behind a haunting question. In their quest for security, had they sacrificed something essential? And if so, could they ever reclaim it? Chapter 3. The Global Marketplace. Zara Okoro stood at the window of Africorp's Lagos headquarters, surveying the bustling cityscape below. The morning sun glinted off sleek skyscrapers, a testament to Nigeria's economic renaissance. She adjusted her suit, a fusion of traditional African prints and modern design, much like herself. Miss Okoro, the board is ready, her assistant's voice came through. Zara took a deep breath. On my way, she replied, striding towards the conference room. As she entered, the board members rose. Zara took her place at the head of the table. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, today, we rewrite the rules of global commerce. She brought up a holographic display of the world, glowing lines connecting cities and rural areas alike. Teleportation has shrunk our world, but it's also exposed its inequalities, Zara continued. Today, I propose we use this technology not just for profit but for progress. She outlined her vision. Africorp would leverage teleportation to create a truly global marketplace, establishing quantum hubs in underserved areas to connect skilled workers directly to consumers worldwide. Imagine a weaver in rural Ghana selling her textiles directly to a boutique in Paris, Zara explained, or a software developer in Nairobi, collaborating in real time with a startup in Silicon Valley. The board listened, some nodding, others frowning. Zara addressed their unspoken doubts. Yes, this plan is ambitious. Yes, it carries risks, but the potential rewards, for Africorp and for the continent, are immeasurable. The board approved her plan, and over the next months, Africorp moved at a dizzying pace. Zara oversaw the establishment of quantum hubs in remote villages and negotiated partnerships with tech giants. One afternoon, she materialized in a small Kenyan town. A group of women waited, their faces a mix of excitement and apprehension. Welcome, one stepped forward, introducing herself as Amina. We're ready to begin. Zara followed Amina to a building housing rows of sleek quantum pods. Today, Zara addressed the group, you become global entrepreneurs. She watched as Amina stepped into a pod, clutching a woven basket. With a flash, she vanished, reappearing seconds later with wonder on her face. I just sold my basket to a woman in New York, Amina said, awed. She wants to order more. Zara felt a surge of pride. This was her vision realized, direct, equitable access to global markets. But as AfriCorp's influence grew, so did the challenges. Established powers pushed back, accusing Zara of disrupting trade balances. Traditional business leaders launched smear campaigns. At a contentious World Economic Forum in Davos, Zara faced skeptical industry titans. "Miss Okoro," one began condescendingly, "aren't you concerned about the destabilizing effect of your activities?" Zara met his gaze. "Change is always destabilizing, sir. The question is whether that change leads to a more equitable world." She presented data showing economic growth in previously marginalized regions. The audience murmured, some approving, others concerned. Months passed, and AfriCorp's success grew. Zara watched with pride as impoverished communities flourished and innovation hubs sprang up in unexpected places. But new challenges emerged. Reviewing reports one evening, Zara noticed a troubling pattern. While many benefited from the new economic landscape, a new divide was forming. Those with access to teleportation technology prospered, while others fell behind. Zara frowned, studying a global map of quantum hubs. Vast areas remained untouched, billions left behind. "What have I done?" she whispered. Standing at the window, Zara gazed at the glittering Lagos skyline. Beyond those lights lay communities still struggling in darkness. She had changed the world, but had she changed it enough? More importantly, had she changed it for the better? Zara knew her work was far from over. She had unleashed a force reshaping the global economy. Now, she had to ensure it lifted all boats, not just the lucky few. The quantum revolution had begun, with Zara at its helm. The weight of that responsibility settled on her shoulders as she turned back to her desk, determined to truly democratize this new economic frontier. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles. But tonight, Zara allowed herself a moment of reflection. She had come far, changed much. Yet the journey was only beginning. Chapter 4. Heritage. Hiroshi Nakamura materialized in a quantum swirl, the disorientation fading as his eyes adjusted to soft morning light. Before him lay Takayama, a village nestled in a valley that seemed untouched by the modern world's frenetic pace. Yet the sleek quantum pod at the village's edge stood as a testament to the reach of teleportation technology, even in this remote locale. He inhaled deeply, savoring the crisp mountain air, a stark contrast to Tokyo's recycled atmosphere. Here, time moved at its own languid pace, but the future had arrived in the form of that pod, part of a government initiative to connect rural Japan to the global network. "Nakamura-san," called an elderly man, his weathered face creasing into a warm smile. "Welcome to our humble village." Hiroshi bowed respectfully. "Thank you for having me, Tanaka-san. I'm honored to document your traditions." As Tanaka led him through the village, Hiroshi's artist's eye absorbed every detail. Sunlight on thatched roofs, the rhythmic clack of a loom, the rich aroma of miso wafting from a communal kitchen. His fingers twitched, eager to begin. "The pod has brought changes," Tanaka mused, nodding towards the quantum installation. "Tourists, yes, but also opportunities for our youth. They can work in cities without leaving their roots behind." Over the next days, Hiroshi immersed himself in village life, recording intricate dances, precise crafting techniques, and nuanced flavors of century-old recipes. Each evening, he translated his observations into complex VR algorithms, all while observing how teleportation subtly reshaped village dynamics. On his final day, Hiroshi gathered the villagers. "I'd like to show you what I've created," he said, activating the VR system. The village square transformed, eliciting gasps of wonder as villagers found themselves in a perfect digital replica of their home. They could feel familiar tools, smell incense from the local shrine, hear distant native birds. "It's us," whispered an awestruck young woman. "But how?" Hiroshi smiled softly. "It's your heritage preserved in the digital realm. Now people worldwide can experience your culture's beauty." Returning to Tokyo, Hiroshi felt pride and unease. His creation gained global attention, sparking unexpected consequences. Debates raged across media and academic circles. Some hailed his work as revolutionary for cultural preservation. Others criticized it as digital colonialism, reducing living cultures to virtual commodities. One evening, as Hiroshi scrolled through another heated discussion, a message from Tanaka arrived. Nakamura-san, your creation has brought many visitors to our village, both in person and virtually. It's changing things here. The quantum pod is busier than ever. Hiroshi's heart sank. Had his preservation attempt inadvertently accelerated Takayama's transformation? Determined to address these concerns, Hiroshi began collaborating with indigenous groups worldwide, refining his approach to ensure local communities controlled their cultural representation in virtual space. He also worked with government agencies to develop guidelines for sustainable teleportation infrastructure in rural areas. Months later, Hiroshi stood before a class in New Zealand, launching a new VR experience developed with Maori elders. Today, he began, we're not just observing a culture, we're participating in a living heritage. As students donned VR gear, Hiroshi watched closely. He saw wonder in their eyes, but also understanding. This wasn't mere entertainment, it was a bridge between worlds. Later, preparing to teleport back to Tokyo, Hiroshi paused. The quantum pod hummed softly, ready to instantaneously transport him across vast distances, a technological miracle with its own cost. He thought of Takayama and countless communities grappling with instant global travel's impacts. How could his art address these challenges? As he stepped into the pod, an idea formed. Perhaps his next project could explore the evolving tapestry of global identity in the teleportation age, examining how rural communities adapt to and shape this technology. Hiroshi vanished from New Zealand, rematerializing in his Tokyo studio, mind racing with new possibilities. He realized his role as an artist was not just to preserve the past, but to help shape a future where diversity could thrive in an increasingly connected world. Looking at the digital renderings of distant cultures glowing on his screens, Hiroshi felt renewed purpose. He had begun seeking to document vanishing traditions. Now he understood his true mission was helping those traditions find their place in a rapidly changing world, all while ensuring that the benefits of teleportation reached even the most remote corners of the globe. With a deep breath, Hiroshi turned to his workstation, ready to begin anew. The challenge of balancing preservation and progress in the age of quantum travel was daunting, but he was determined to meet it head-on. Chapter 5. Connection. The quantum pod hummed to life, particles swirling in a dazzling display. Khalid materialized in Sydney, his body adjusting to the sudden shift from Dubai's arid heat to the cool ocean breeze. He blinked, orienting himself in Sophia's apartment as the scent of brewing coffee reached him. "Good morning," Sophia called from the kitchen, her voice still tinged with sleep. "Or is it evening for you?" Khalid chuckled, moving to embrace her. "It's always the right time when I'm with you." Their lips met, bridging the vast distance they'd just traversed. Yet as they parted, Khalid couldn't shake the lingering disorientation. His body insisted it was evening, even as Sydney's morning sun streamed through the windows. They settled into their routine, a choreographed dance of shared moments and individual tasks. Sophia prepared for her day at the Marine Research Centre, while Khalid reviewed architectural plans, their conversation a mix of personal and professional. "I'm presenting the coral regeneration project today," Sophia said, excitement evident in her voice. "We're using quantum entanglement to monitor deep-sea ecosystems in real time." Khalid nodded, only half listening as he grappled with a design problem. The contrast between their current realities, Sophia's impending workday and his winding-down evening, created a subtle disconnect. As Sophia gathered her things to leave, Khalid felt a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry, Habibti. My mind was elsewhere. Tell me more about your project over dinner." Sophia's smile faltered slightly. "Dinner? Khalid, it'll be the middle of the night for you." The reminder hit him like a splash of cold water. "Right, of course, I forgot. We'll figure something out." Sophia left for work, leaving Khalid alone in her apartment. He moved to the balcony, gazing out at Sydney's skyline. The city was waking up, vibrant and alive, while his body craved sleep. The dichotomy was jarring. Later, as Khalid prepared to return to Dubai, his comm unit chimed. A message from Sophia. "Missing you already. VR date tonight?" He smiled, tapping out a reply. Wouldn't miss it. Hours later, Khalid donned his VR gear. The world shifted, and suddenly he was in a digital rendering of a Moroccan riad, soft lantern light casting intricate shadows on the walls. Sophia's avatar appeared, a perfect digital recreation of her. "I thought we could use a change of scenery," she said, her voice coming through clearly. They wandered through the virtual space, marveling at the detailed architecture, the simulated scent of spices filling the air. For a while, the challenges of their quantum relationship faded into the background. "It's beautiful," Sophia murmured, her avatar's hand intertwining with Khalid's, "almost like being there together." Khalid felt a mix of joy and melancholy. "Almost," he echoed. The virtual touch was convincing, but it lacked the warmth, the subtle imperfections of reality. As their date concluded, they lingered in the digital space, neither wanting to return to the complexities of their physical separation. "Khalid," Sophia began, her voice hesitant, "do you ever wonder if this is sustainable, the constant jumping between worlds?" He sighed, the question mirroring his own doubts. "I do. It's challenging, but—" Suddenly, Sophia's avatar flickered, her voice cutting out. Khalid's heart raced as he called out her name, met only with digital static. Panic set in as he tore off his VR gear, fumbling for his comm unit. No signal. He rushed to his personal quantum pod, but the interface flashed an error message. "Network instability detected. Teleportation temporarily unavailable." Khalid felt a wave of helplessness wash over him. The fragility of their quantum-enabled relationship was laid bare. The technology that brought them together now kept them apart, separated by thousands of miles and an unresponsive network. Hours passed before communication was restored. Khalid's comm unit buzzed with a message from Sophia. "Are you okay? That was terrifying." He replied, fingers shaking slightly. "I'm fine, but Sophia, we need to talk." The next day they met in person, both having travelled the old-fashioned way. As they sat in a quiet cafe, the weight of their decision hung in the air. "I love you," Khalid said, reaching for Sophia's hand. "But this, living between worlds, it's taking a toll on both of us." Sophia nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. "I know, I feel it too. But the thought of not seeing you every day—" "Maybe," Khalid suggested tentatively, "we need to find a middle ground, a way to be together that doesn't rely entirely on teleportation." They spent hours talking, weighing options, confronting the realities of their situation. The solution wasn't simple, but as they worked through it together, they felt a renewed sense of connection. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the city, Khalid and Sophia stood, hands clasped. They had made their decision. It wouldn't be easy, but they were committed to finding a way forward, together. They stepped out onto the bustling street, the world around them a blend of the familiar and the foreign. In that moment, they weren't divided by distance or culture. They were simply two people, navigating the complexities of love in a quantum world, one step at a time. Chapter 6. The Quantum Singularity Lian. Chen's fingers danced across the holographic interface, her eyes darting between streams of data. The quantum lab hummed with an ominous intensity, the air thick with ozone from overworked processors. "No, no, no," she muttered, her heart racing as she triple-checked her calculations. The conclusion remained unchanged, sending a chill down her spine. A critical flaw in the quantum entanglement cascade, the very foundation of modern teleportation, was unraveling at an alarming rate. Lian's hand hovered over her comm unit, trembling. Who could she trust with this catastrophic information? The wrong move could cause global panic. She took a deep breath and dialed the one person she knew would understand the gravity of the situation. "Grandmother, we have a problem, a big one." Dr. Aurora Chen materialized in Lian's lab within minutes, her usual composed demeanor replaced by barely concealed anxiety. "Show me everything," Aurora demanded without preamble. Lian pulled up the data, explaining in rapid-fire technical jargon. Aurora's expression darkened with each passing second. "If we don't act fast," Lian concluded, her voice barely above a whisper, "the entire network could collapse. Billions of people trapped wherever they are. Global commerce, international relations, everything. It would all crumble." Aurora closed her eyes briefly, the weight of responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. "We need to inform the Global Teleportation Regulatory Agency. They need to shut down the network immediately." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the lab. Lian's screens flashed with urgent notifications. "It's starting," she breathed, horror evident in her voice. Across the globe, chaos erupted. In New York, thousands of commuters found themselves trapped in teleportation hubs, unable to reach their destinations. Panic spread like wildfire as rumors of terrorist attacks circulated. In Lagos, Zara Okoro watched helplessly as her carefully crafted global marketplace disintegrated. Quantum hubs across Africa failed in rapid succession, cutting off millions from their economic lifelines. Agent Kieran Novak's command center in Geneva transformed into a war room. Screens displayed a world map rapidly turning red as teleportation failures cascaded across continents. "Lock down all remaining hubs," Kieran barked, knowing full well the order would strand countless individuals. "We need to contain this before it gets worse." But it was already too late. In Lian's lab, she and Aurora worked feverishly to find a solution. The young scientist's fingers flew across the interface, testing and discarding theories at a dizzying pace. "Wait," Aurora said suddenly, her eyes widening. "What if we're approaching this all wrong? What if instead of trying to fix the cascade, we accelerate it?" Lian stared at her grandmother, realization dawning. A controlled collapse. We could create a quantum singularity, reset the entire system. "It's our only chance," Aurora nodded grimly. "But the consequences—" She left the thought unfinished. They both knew what it meant. A complete shutdown of global teleportation, billions stranded, economies in freefall, and no guarantee it would even work. Lian's hand hovered over the final command sequence. One press and the world as they knew it would change forever. "Do it," Aurora said softly. Lian took a deep breath and activated the sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every quantum signature on Earth began to collapse in on itself. The lab went dark, emergency lights casting an eerie glow. Across the planet, teleportation hubs winked out of existence. The global network, humanity's greatest achievement, vanished in the blink of an eye. In the sudden silence of the lab, Lian turned to her grandmother. "Did it work? Did we save the network?" Before Aurora could answer, a blinding light erupted from the center of the room. It expanded rapidly, consuming everything in its path. Lian reached out instinctively, grasping Aurora's hand as the light engulfed them. And then, darkness. Epilogue. In the aftermath, as the world grappled with the sudden loss of instantaneous travel, strange reports began to surface. People claiming to have seen ghostly apparitions of loved ones, objects disappearing and reappearing in impossible locations. And in quantum labs across the globe, sensors picked up faint, inexplicable signals, echoes of a network that no longer existed. Or did it? As humanity stood on the brink of a new, uncertain era, one question remained. In their desperate attempt to save the world, had Lian and Aurora inadvertently opened a door to something beyond their comprehension?